Welcome to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And good day. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you could come along. Whether you're tuning in on Wednesday morning with us live on webcast1live.com, webcast1live.com, and we thank Mac, J. Michael McCoy, for allowing us the opportunity to be in the studio. And you know, I have to say, as I come to the studio, I was a little concerned. Ryan, our producer, can tell you when we learned we were changing locations, the other one was so convenient for me. And during the legislative session, this one will be a little bit more of a jaunt. But I was concerned about having to fly or come all the way out here. And it's a pleasant trip. I get here just as quickly as I did on the other one. But this studio is so beautiful. I am thankful to be here. I don't know what you do, how you spend your day, but I hope you're thankful with the mission God has put before you. The Bible talks about establishing the work of our hands. I am thankful to get to come here. I am thankful for this beautiful studio. I'm thankful for the opportunity to bring wonderful guests to you each week with good information that can help you live a better life. That's the purpose of this show with Truth for Our Time. We help you live God's Word in today's world. We give you the news that you can actually use and you don't hear a lot of other places. We help you live God's Word in today's world. And here's the deal. If He expects you to live through it, He has directed you how to do it. There's nothing we're going to face today, tomorrow, any other time that He hasn't already handled or dealt with somewhere in His Word. So just thankful for the opportunity that I get to be the one to share the good news. You know how fun it is when you get to introduce friends. And so that I get to bring people and information to you is just a joy for me each and every week. If you are listening at noon on Sundays, we're thankful that 99.3 is now doing the show noon on Sundays as you're traveling home from church, or perhaps you can't get out to go to church anymore. You can get great information here and be a vital part of the community and make a difference by the information we give you here at 99.3 at noon. So either way, if you ever want the archives, we have them for you at tamarascott.com. tamarascott.com. My thanks to Ryan for making that possible. And so we try and get those updated and have them for you every week. Oh, he's even got it on the screen for those of you who are watching with us along on Wednesday morning. I do probably need to thank my sponsors while I'm talking about this. Crave, Christians Reviving American Values Every Day. Crave, ChristiansForAmerica.com. We thank them for coming along and being a great sponsor and helping us get the word out. And if you would like to join in that, if there's information you realize, gosh, we're not hearing this everywhere else, or why aren't we hearing this somewhere else? We'd love to have you come along and as a business partner, either sponsor with ads or however you want to do it. You can contact Mac here at the studios at webcast1live.com, or you can contact me. Doesn't matter, tamarascott.com, and also our Facebook page, truthforourtime.com. Truth for Our Time Facebook page. We keep information and links on that page when we have guests each Wednesday. So I thank you for doing that. We've had a lot going on. It's Iowa. We are always politicking. And, some of you might wonder, since I serve as National Committee Woman in one of my other posts, why I don't have a lot of candidates on this show. And I could. I very well could. In fact, Congressman David Young may be joining us today. He's at the state fair, which, Ryan, is a chilly day. Ryan was pointing out it is a chilly, chilly day out there. Wednesday, the low is supposed to be 53 below. 53 degrees. That's chilly for an August fair weather day. We usually have 90s and 100s all week long during the fair. So it's a chilly day out there. But if he can get time away, he will call in and we'll talk about the Iran deal. We only have so many days left to do away with the Iran deal. And I'll see if I can pull up my neat fact sheet here from Christians United for Israel. I was just looking at it last night. But this, we have got to stop this deal. And for those who may be thinking it's a done deal, listen, nothing is finished. It does not have to be finished. We can certainly make a difference on it. Let me just give you a few things just right off the top. No American is allowed on the inspection team. Why would we sign a deal when we know that they have had issues with they're trying to create centrifuges and uranium, enriching uranium to create a nuclear bomb? Why would we not want to have inspection anytime, anywhere? We don't have that. It takes 25 days at least. And even with that inspection time, once it starts, if something changes, if they move something, if something changes, they have to re-up that. They can then start the process all over again, another 25 days. The folks from AIPAC say it could be 60 days before we can get in there. But either way, there's no Americans allowed on the inspection team. There's a great video that we already have on the Truth for Our Time Facebook page. Senator Cotton, 7-minute video Q&A out of the Armed Forces, and he is asking your Secretary of State, John Kerry, have you read this deal? John Kerry cannot say he's read the side agreements on this deal. He cannot confirm that anybody in the U.S. Department of Defense has read the side agreements on this deal. And according to Senator Joni Ernst, we'll not be given that opportunity. And one of the reasons David Young wants to call in is that he heard me speaking about this last night. He flew to Vienna. When have we ever in America had to fly to another country to try and figure out what was happening with our own? Even when he flew there, they would not show the congressman the side agreements. The Ayatollah has seen them. We have not. Along with that, $150 billion in unfrozen assets will be released and sent back to Iran. Iran is known to be the largest sponsor of state terror, or state sponsor of terror, however you wish to say it. And understand that once they start their move towards a nuclear bomb, it's not like the other countries sitting near them are going to sit back and say, well, that's okay. Good for them. Saudi Arabia is going to start. In fact, we're hearing that they're already in communications trying to start their movement towards nuclear arms. This is going to start a nuclear arms race in the Middle East of all places. And I was talking with Gary Bauer on this. In the deal, it says that we will cooperate and we will help protect. Now, we're not just blessing, we're not just allowing it, we're blessing it and protecting it. We will help protect or defend their ability, Iran's ability. Now, if we do that, who would we actually end up possibly defending it against? Israel, our friend in the Middle East and the only ally, the steady ally that we have there. There's so many issues with this deal. You have till September 16th, I believe. So I'm asking you to call, write this number down, put it in your cell phone, keep it with you, write it on your fridge, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. That is the Capitol switchboard, the U.S. Capitol, that will get you to any congressman, congresswoman, any senator. Keep it with you, call them all, and ask them to please vote against this deal. Democrat Senator Schumer, Democrat Senator Menendez have come out against it. And Menendez brings up some very interesting points when he talks about the billions barrels of crude oil and the nearly 2,000 trillion cubic feet, if I'm saying that correctly, of natural gas that Iran has. They simply don't need nuclear energy. This is not what they're about. So, for your safety, my safety, the protection of our friends, we need to call 202-224-3121, and I will pull up the fact sheet. I think I already have it. I may not have it on Truth for Our Time, but I will try and put it on there. I do have it on a new Facebook page, CUFI Action, Christians United for Israel, CUFI, C-U-F-I, Action, Iowa. It's a new Facebook page we're starting as Gary Bauer is starting the CUFI Action Fund to make a difference politically. And joining me today is the executive assistant, Miss Chelsea Andrews. Very pleased to meet her just a short time ago in Washington, D.C. at the Christians United for Israel conference when we just happened to be there. We just happened to be on Capitol Hill, 714, which always reminds me of 2 Chronicles 7:14, when Kerry was signing that agreement. We were there, Christians United for Israel, ready with meetings for our congressional members to talk to them about this. So, Brian, I hear the phone ring, and I want to make sure that that's not Congressman Young. All right. So Chelsea Andrews is joining me. Chelsea, thank you so much for stepping in with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I am so excited that our listeners are going to get a chance to meet you. As I said, I met you just a short couple weeks ago, and For those of you out there, you know how you go somewhere and you just feel at home. You just connect with the folks you're meeting and really like the individuals you're talking to. That was Christians United for Israel for me. I've been to a lot of conferences. I've been to conferences on Israel. I felt so at home with the folks at Christians United for Israel, and Chelsea was one of those people. So Chelsea, explain, a little bit about who you are. I don't have a bio to give our listeners, so give us a little background about who you are.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you had such a great time at the summit over the summer. That was the first event I ever went to with Christians United for Israel, was also a DC summit, and I know what you mean about just falling in love with the people and just feeling at home. So the first time that I ever did go to a CUFI event was the summer after my freshman year of college. That was in 2011. And I got involved in CUFI. I got involved in a lot of different organizations while I was in college. But this thing about pro-Israel activism just really stuck out to me. I became a Christian at Liberty University, which ironically is the largest Christian school in the world, when I was a freshman in college. And then I went to an event with CUFI, and I honestly am kind of ashamed to say it, but I didn't even know that Israel was still an active country. Someone that wasn't a Christian, I didn't know that the place that Jesus was born was even still around. So I went to the summit, and what really struck me in a simplistic way was that I saw for thousands of years one people group that kept being bullied, and it bothered me. And I just kept going back to different CUFI events. And like I said, I did other activities throughout college that were with different humanitarian issues and different things, but pro-Israel activism just really struck me. And for 4 years, I poured my heart and soul into it. And now I'm working for Gary Bauer and CUFI Action Fund in DC, and we're getting off the ground running, and we're really excited.
And so let's explain to our listeners and viewers, what is the Action Fund? What is the purpose of the Action Fund?
Yeah, absolutely. So Christians United for Israel itself is a 501c3 organization, which means that it's not allowed to make certain political statements. It's not allowed to be affiliated with certain individuals. And it's just kind of regulated very specifically. So what we did was we started a 501c4, which means we're allowed to be a lot more blunt and bold in what we think and what we can say. And it was very highly encouraged for us to be able to have that voice here in Washington, D.C. So the Action Fund is basically a lobbying group here in D.C. We're able to talk to congressional members, their staffers, hopefully sway them with different issues like the Iran deal. You gave a great synopsis of that a little bit ago. I did have two things, though, I wanted to add quickly, if I may. Yeah, one thing was that we do have 4 Americans. One of them is a Washington Post journalist, and another one is Pastor Saeed, that we've been hearing about for years and years. And Pastor Saeed is still in a prison in Iran. And none of these 4 individuals have been involved in the negotiation process. As we're talking about a nuclear Iran, you think that our president would say, hey, you got some American citizens over there. Can we maybe have them back? But in the meantime, what he did do, President Obama, was he traded 5 Taliban leaders out of Gitmo for 1 American deserter. His name was Bo Bergdahl, and he left his units. So we got him back, but we haven't gotten the 4 others that are still over there. The other thing, then, is that President Obama has been responding to different people saying, why are we making a deal with Iran, all these different things. He's calling the people that we're working with the deal with hardliners. So he's saying that Ayatollah Khomeini is a hardliner, he's this, he's that. He's saying we're trying to work with the moderates. He's trying to make the country sound like it's not as radical as it is. But Ayatollah Khomeini is the dictator of Iran. He is who we are doing the negotiations with. So saying that the moderates are a majority who we're working with isn't accurate. And then I also have other friends saying, okay, well, what does the nuclear Iran have to do with Israel specifically? And you have the Ayatollah calling for resistance in Palestine, the entire region. He's saying that anybody who wants to fight Israel, that's who they want to be allied with, against the Zionists, against anyone that wants to be in favor of the state of Israel at all. So that's a quick little synopsis on my take on the Iran deal.
And very well done, which is why you're such a wonderful asset to CUFI Action. So we're going to take a break here, and I want you to all just stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about talk with Chelsea about what we see on campuses today. And I think you'll be encouraged with where it's heading, though there are concerns with where it's at. And we'll also talk about her recent trip to Poland and Israel and what she has learned through that trip. So stay tuned. You're listening to Tamara Scott with Truth for Our Time. We'll be right back after these messages.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I've purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And thanks for staying tuned. I am Tamara Scott, and you can get these archives on tamarascott.com if you want somebody to hear the show later. Talking with Chelsea Andrews. She is the executive assistant from CUFI Action, the CUFI Christians United for Israel. We were just talking a little bit about the Iran deal, and we certainly need to call on that. But during the commercial break, I just happened to click on a link from, I think it's Miss Chelsea in there at Liberty University. Is that possibly you in a 23-second video that I just posted on my Facebook page, Miss Chelsea?
Probably.
All right. So folks can go there to the Christians United for Israel, the CUFI Action Iowa Facebook page and see that. But I also clicked on the, I was looking for anti-Semitism on college campuses because we know it is rampant. When I was in Israel in 2014, January 2014, had the opportunity to talk to, I believe it was an Arab reporter, and we were kind of warned when we went to the meeting that we wouldn't agree with him on everything, so I didn't know what to expect, and I was a little tentative, and I found this individual to be absolutely honest and forthright, and I don't know what we agree or don't agree on, but something he said in that meeting, I totally agreed with what he was saying, and one of the things was this. People ask me if I'm afraid to live in Israel, and I feel safer here than I do on a college campus in America talking about Israel. Chelsea, talk to us about the anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually heard people say that myself when I was just in Israel a few days ago. There's a man that is he's the president or the director, but the organization is called the Institute for Justice, I think in Israel. I can give you the link later on. But his name is Kalev Myers. He's fantastic. And he actually has said that he would rather deal with Hamas when he lives in Israel than come to an American college campus. He's done it one time, and he said that our campuses are more hostile than Hamas itself. So that does not surprise me at all that you were told that by a reporter as well. You wanted to talk a little bit about anti-Semitism on college campuses. Was that right?
Yes, we see the BDS movement growing, and for folks, that's a boycott, divestment, and sanction movement towards Israel of all places, the only stable democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah. So when I explain BDS in a very relaxed way to my students my friends on college campuses that aren't necessarily the most politically affiliated, they just want to know real quick, what is it? Why is everyone, causing a stir about it? The boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is something that is not only on college campuses, but it's also active within large organizations all across America and actually in Europe as well. And what you do is an organization says, okay, this other third party works with Israel, so we're not going to be affiliated with them. There's a university in America that won't have Sabra hummus because they're affiliated with Israel. Caterpillar, the equipment that you use to do construction,
sure.
A lot of places have boycotted Caterpillar. So when you bring that down to the college campus level, what happens is you have two different student groups, primarily, that will lead BDS movements on their campuses. And those are the Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, and the Muslim Student Association, MSA. So just some stories real quick about a couple of different campuses, and then I can actually give you some information on people that founded those. It's a really weird tie into the way that everything connects together. The University of Oregon, they had swastikas painted on their mailboxes. Vanderbilt University and the University of California, Davis. Vanderbilt had swastikas painted inside of one of their Alpha Epsilon Pi, it's a Jewish fraternity, in their frat house. UC Davis had swastikas painted outside. Florida State University had some riots that happened, and SJP and MSA students were screaming Intifada words that happened in Israel. Flags then were torn, they were stomped on, they were burned. At Kent State University, there is a professor there that actually calls his students little jihadists, affectionately. And he has a statement where he says that Israel is a regime that is a spiritual heir to Nazism. And he's a teacher there, so students are gleaning from him. You also have the University of Cincinnati, where students are running for their Student Government Association, which is how you push the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement. And when they're running for office, they had little pamphlets they passed out that said, "With Jews, you lose." So that's okay. That. And the last one, real fast, that I written down real quick for us was at the University of Arizona. There was a guy, he was the president of his Alpha Epsilon Pi chapter, and he was at his frat house one night, and some guys had gotten a little skirmish outside. So he went over to address the issue, and then someone ended up raising their hand, and a Hitler salute went and got some of his friends from a different fraternity and ended up beating him up so bad that he had a concussion. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks, the ICU for 10 days. He had a lower back fracture and a skull fracture. So,
and that what university? That was at Arizona?
Yes, ma'am, Arizona. So I wanted to give an example. That's why I went through those so quickly, was that a lot of people say that anti-Semitism and BDS is only on the West Coast, but I just give examples of Arizona, Cincinnati, Vanderbilt is over on this side of the country, Oregon is over there on the West Coast, Chicago, Florida, Kent State. This is all over the country.
So for every parent, as we're sending kids off to college, and it's such a heart-wrenching area anyway, or time of year anyway, from moms who are letting that baby, that last nester go.
Yeah.
And there's so much on college campuses to be concerned about today's. Absolutely, between the drinking, the sex that is just promoted so heavily, the left-leaning, dictatorial, communist, social leanings, and then now this anti-Israel bent that is coming across. But when I heard you speak at the donor dinner, you gave me hope.
Thank you.
Would you just share a little bit of what you've been able to accomplish as this young, new Christian? And I think people need to get that as well. You were saved how many years or months before you started this action?
I was saved the first day of classes, my freshman year at Liberty, and I went to my first Q5 summit that summer thereafter, so not even a full year.
And what have you been able to accomplish with CUFI on campus?
Yeah. Well, it ties into a little bit of a backstory. So I was involved in CUFI. I loved Israel. I understood the logistics. But everything was kind of a concept to me. I believed the truth. I believed what I was taught the Bible said about Israel. I believed all of this. And I also didn't like how I saw Jewish people being bullied, as I said earlier, so much. So I believed in the cause. But I was actually asked by the head of CUFI on campus, the college division. His name's David Walker. He's the national director. He called me one day when I was at work one night, and he said, Chelsea, there's this new group that's actually going to be doing a pilot program, the first ever of its kind. And what this program was, the Israel on Campus Coalition, the ICC. They went to the top 10 pro-Israel organizations across the country, and they asked each of these 10 groups to pick 2 students. So there was a group of 20 of us. And we went on a diplomatic trip over to Israel, and I was asked to represent CUFI. And I was completely surprised. I never even imagined that I would ever be able to go over to Israel. And I went over on this trip. It was very intense. They knew that the students that were picked were students that were already going to be, we knew our stuff. They knew that. So they challenged us really hard on this trip. But when I got to the airport to initiate the trip, I knew the other CUFI student. Her name was Destiny. And Destiny and I kind of partnered up. And we realized that the 18 other students that came on the trip, none of them were Christians. So there were actually 17 Jewish students. There was one girl that was a Mormon, and then the 2 of us that were Protestant Christians. And everybody was looking at us. And I remember this one boy looked at my necklace. I wore a Star of David to prompt dialogue and to have people ask me about why I wore it, so I could talk about Israel and the Jewish people. This guy looked at my necklace and he goes, "You're not Jewish, are you? Because I have red hair." And I said, "No, sir, I'm not." And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, what are you?" And I was like, "I'm a Christian." And I got to introduce Christian Zionism to him. Long story short, I went on this trip. I fell in love with my Jewish friends. They were so nice. I got to ask them, I said, "Why are people wearing those ropes around their waist with those shirts?" And they said, "Oh, that's a tzitzit." And they told me all about the Jewish culture. And I loved everything. I asked so many questions. Well, then when I got back to the States after my trip, a friend that went to the University of California, Davis, she called me one night. It was maybe not even a month after I had gotten back from the program. And she said, "Chelsea, BDS is coming back to my campus." It was the 3rd year that BDS was returning through the Student Government Association. A piece of legislation was introduced saying that the university wanted to divest. So the students representing the university wanted to divest.
And for our listeners who are just tuning in, that BDS is boycott, divest, and sanctions against Israel. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So go ahead.
So Lydia called me. She said, "Chelsea, BDS is coming back. It's the 3rd year in a row." And she just asked me to pray for her. That's all she asked me to do, because the pro-Israel organization on our campus, CUFI, was actually walking into their student union, and they knew the numbers because SJP and MSA, the Muslim Student Association, and the Students for Justice in Palestine, had stacked the board of those leading the student government at UC Davis. So they knew the votes were not in their favor. So they planned to speak one time, and then they rose quietly and walked out. That was the plan. Well, when they did that, the walkout was very peacefully done. Allahu Akbar was chanted at them the entire time they left. Megyn Kelly featured it on Fox. It was featured everywhere. Big news hit it. And my friend was there, and I watched this live happen, and I called her afterwards, and she was upset. But what then happened the day after hit me home more than even watching my friend get screamed at. And that was that AEPI, the Jewish fraternity that most of the guy friends on my trip were a part of, had swastikas painted on the outside of their fraternity. And I knew the frat president at UC Davis. So for me, I had this defensive instinct where I was just frustrated. It was like I was seeing something and I couldn't help my friends. And they were on the opposite side of the country. But I had this innate desire to do something. And what I decided was, just because I was on the opposite side of the country, that shouldn't mean that I couldn't do something. So what I did was I looked at the university I was at, Liberty University, the largest Christian school in the world, a very pro-Israel campus. And I decided, you know what? There should be one school, at least in the entire world, that will not entertain BDS. So there's not been a school in Europe that's done it. There's not been a school other than my university in America that's done it. What I did was I wrote an amendment saying that our university will never entertain BDS legislation or legislation mirroring its intent. And we passed that, and it was the first time it's ever been done.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, well, thanks to CUFI. They helped me a lot through the way.
Right. And this is, I think, what I want people to understand. This was a young lady who didn't even grow up in the church. She was saved her first day of school, first day of class, got involved, and was able to make her school the first school, what I'm hearing, in America and in the world,
Yep.
to promise they would never entertain the notion of going against Israel with a boycott, divestment, or sanction plan. And the reason for that is the Genesis instruction to us as Christians that whoever blesses Israel will be blessed. Whoever curses Israel will be cursed.
Amen.
So you have helped your college to be blessed. You've helped this nation to be blessed. You've helped students learn the truth in a world that hits him with falsehoods and propaganda, especially on campuses.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Happy to do it.
When someone else wants, we've got kids going to college, if there's a parent, grandparent listening who could send that information to their students, how do they connect them with CUFI on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go on to CUFI.org, first of all, that's where you can join and become a member. We have over 2 million members. So as I'm saying all this, I know it's kind of some Debbie Downer topics, but that's why I love CUFI so much, is that whether you're a student, whether you're a parent sending your student off, or you're just somebody in your community, you can get involved. We have Night to Honor Israel events all over the country. We have an event going on every single month. So you can get involved. You can figure out how to combat things. But if somebody wants to get involved in CUFI on campus, they can go to CUFI.org. There's a campus tab at the top, and you can get plugged in that way.
CUFI on campus, CUFI.org. We've got to go to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do. What type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And thanks for joining us. You're watching me multitask. We'll see if I can do it while I'm talking to you. I'm I'm emailing photos to Ryan to see if we can get some to you about our life event that we took part in a week ago, the Truth Exposed rally that took place at the state capitol on the 15th. Was a great event, and we were glad to be there. We hear anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 people were there. Concerned Women for America, one of the organizations, the women's largest public policy organizations in the nation, took part, and we were not a speaker in the event, but we were allowed to. We had our signs there, and we had great members there with our T-shirts that we had placed out. Great graphics on those T-shirts, and I just sent those to Ryan. So I don't know if you can get those or not, but here's the deal. The videos you're seeing from Planned Parenthood, horrific, awful, disgusting. And we're thrilled that people are now talking about defunding Planned Parenthood. I am not out to just simply defund Planned Parenthood. I want to dissolve Planned Parenthood. Any organization that can do what they do to other human beings, to fellow Americans, and we'll talk about this, and I'll bring Chelsea in on this, and you'll see the correlation, frightening as it is, should not be one funded by the government ever. But it shouldn't be allowed by us. If those photos and videos are too graphic to look at, how much more horrible is it that we allow it? What does it say about us? And so our shirts had the two little hands you see in the pro-life movement saying Stop Planned Parenthood, and then on the front was a heart. And we have one with a heart with the hand on it, that baby hand on it saying Stop Planned Parenthood, and another one with the blood spots. And it's a black heart because we believe Planned Parenthood is a black heart it's a black spot on the heart of America. RNC, my other hat, was able to pass a resolution. It was sponsored by one of the other national committee members, and I was thrilled to get to add to that, not just asking the congressional members to defund Planned Parenthood, but there is an addition in there. And Ryan, I don't know if you can pull up that resolution, but we ask in there, this is key. We ask that National Institutes of Health and state governments cease funding to any clinic or a facility that seeks organs, tissue, or specimens from elective abortions. And here's why. We've had Dr. Prentice on the show. He warns there's nothing that you can gain from doing research on elective abortion, tissue, body parts, that you can't gain from miscarriage, body parts, from stillborns, from other ways. And here's what we know. When you violate God's tenets, you will not profit. There have been no treatments or breakthroughs on embryonic stem cell research, and I believe that's because you have to kill the embryo. But there have been great research, great treatments, great things that have happened on the adult stem cell research. So we are asking that government simply not fund any organization, state, university, whatever it may be, that seeks that material, the aborted fetuses of unborn Americans, for the research. Simple as that. Because if you're going to stop the selling, you have to stop the demand. So we don't want to fuel the demand. And here's the deal. By simply allowing it, you're putting a price on the heads of the unborn. You're literally making them more valuable dead than alive. So I'm so pleased to have gotten that in that resolution. You didn't see it on the screen here, but it is part of the RNC record. Your state party, RNC, your Republican state party should have it. Your counties can now put those resolutions out as well. And your legislators and your congressional members now have covering for that very same defunding, not just of Planned Parenthood, but of any clinic or university that would do research on such aborted fetuses. Chelsea Andrews, you just came back from a tour in Poland, a tour in Israel, and here I am talking about life, talking about abortion, the taking of life, the systematic killing of our fellow Americans before they ever take their first breath.
Yes, ma'am. You
walked through, was it Auschwitz and Birkenau? Did you go through both?
We did. Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts?
In all honesty, I expected to arrive and feel a heavy, evil presence. And while horrific things did happen there, what I realized was that what I was looking at was the remains of something evil that happened, and I could see the buildings, and I could see the train tracks that came into Birkenau, and I got to see all these different things. But what hit home to me was that what happened was the result of human beings, and it really hit home the potential of what we can do. And to me, that rallied me even harder to do what I do even better. But it took something that was pictures and that was watching Schindler's List when I was little and all these different concepts, and it made everything a reality. It was really hard, really heavy. But to me, it rallied me to do more for what I do.
Absolutely. And like I say, you give me hope, this younger generation that gets it, that understands it, that's plugged in. When I was there in November of 2014, Governor Huckabee happened to be on that tour.
Wow.
It was not a political tour. He just happened to be the one who was able to go along and gave us great illustrations and stories, as this pastor can do. But he made this comment as we were standing in Birkenau. And for those of you who've not been there, and I never in a million years ever dreamed that I would go.
Yeah.
And it's almost difficult for me to talk about without tearing up. We were looking back at that view, and Ryan, I don't know if you have the photos of any that Chelsea sent you, but okay, so Chelsea, we're looking at this first photo. It's got the black and white inset in it, and that I believe is that's Birkenau, correct?
Does it have the train track on it?
This was not the train track, but it's a black and white inset inside the photo, looking back through a wooden building, and I believe that's Birkenau.
Yes. Yep. It would be.
Our view is the governor's telling us this story. We're looking back over that train station. It's the train station that is kind of iconic when you think about the concentration camps.
Yes.
And so we're looking at that backdrop of the train station, and the governor says this. Here we have, Ryan, thank you. I've seen those photos for those who are watching online. Hold on to those photos, unless you can find the one I'm talking about at the train station. But the governor says, here we had, Germany was known for its, there it is right there. For those of you who are watching, those of you who want to find these, you can come back and look at our archives on tamarascott.com. But that photo, we're looking straight down the tracks. Chelsea, thank you for sending us your photos. He was standing right there, and he said Germany was known for its engineering, its precision, its mechanics. It just always did things well. Highly educated. And he said, here you had the most highly educated, medically trained elite using their skill, their talents, and their gifts to figure out how they could best kill their fellow citizens in the most systematic, clean
They were
manner.
intelligent. They were advanced. They knew what they were doing.
Yes. They hid it from the world for a long time, but they knew what they were doing. And Chelsea, it hit me when I thought, here we are in America, and everybody thinks that will never happen again, or it would never happen in America. And I'm thinking, here I am in Iowa, webcam abortions started here, where you don't even have to go into the room. A doctor doesn't have to be present. He can do it over computer, give a young lady a pill to kill the baby growing inside of her. Our highly educated, medically trained elite here in America are finding the best way to kill the highest number of their fellow citizens in the cleanest manner. It is no different than what we saw at Birkenau. We are no better than the people we fought. The only difference is there are no smokestacks on the Planned Parenthood and abortion clinic crematoriums, and we now know they don't even cremate the remains. They sell them off. It is horrendous, Chelsea.
Right. And I'd even add to that in Birkenau, since you've been there too, you know, when you go back to where the incinerations were done, we were told by our tour guide that these were bombed. The only place, whether you go to Auschwitz or Birkenau, which is Auschwitz too, that you can still see somewhere where they burned the Jewish people, is a bunker in Auschwitz, which used to be a soldiers' training camp. And they transitioned that into a bomb shelter towards the end of the war. And the only reason that area is still there is because it was a bomb shelter. Every single other area that they burned the Jewish people was blown up right at the end of the war because they wanted to destroy the evidence. That shows that they knew what they were doing was wrong. They didn't leave it there.
We've got to go to break. I hope you'll stay tuned. We'll come right back and hear more about Chelsea's visit to Poland and Israel. Stay tuned. Truth for Our Time.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And I'm talking with Chelsea Andrews from CUFI, Christians United for Israel Action Fund. We're talking about her trip going to Poland and Israel and standing in Birkenau. And she's absolutely right. They knew exactly what they were doing was wrong, which is why they bombed all the crematoriums they could, except for the one that was being used as a bomb shelter in Birkenau. We have a question on the screen that I do want to go to. Sam is asking, can Chelsea speak? And Chelsea, I want to come back and I'll just tell you we've got till about 54 past the hour.
Okay.
And so, but we have a listener who wants you to speak about the diversity of CUFI. Do you only need to be a Christian to join, or are there those who support Israel but are not Christians in this organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody is welcome to join Christians United for Israel, whether you're Jewish, a Christian, even if you're an atheist. Anyone is welcome to join as long as you agree with the mission of CUFI, which is that we support Israel and the Jewish people.
And I would say that what we see at Christians United for Israel always follows biblical tenets. So
Absolutely.
That may set you apart from some of the other Jewish groups out there. But
right. There was actually an article, I believe it was the Washington Post, but don't quote me on that, but that was done asking about CUFI and the Action Fund and the diversity. And what we responded with, what David Broggs, the executive director, and Gary Bauer both said, was that just like AIPAC is able to have someone that's a Christian join, but it is not a Christian organization, likewise, CUFI is a Christian organization, but you do not have to be a Christian to join. So we do have biblical support for everything that we do, but we welcome all.
I think I heard that same explanation, and I thought it was a very good one as well.
Yeah.
So take our listeners out back through this trip, things that stood out to you, lessons that you learned. It is life-changing, I know.
Yeah. Just highlights from the recent trip to the Middle East?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that really struck me was that I know a lot about Israel. Admittedly, though, I'm learning about the surrounding countries. And we not only went to Poland to see Auschwitz and Birkenau, we also went to Israel, but we additionally went to Jordan. We went to Petra, and we also went to Amman. And the first thing that happened when we went over the border into Jordan was we stopped at a gas station in the middle of a desert because some people on my trip had to use the restroom. And while we were inside buying drinks, I was the last person in our group to go through the gas station. I had a security guard next to us. And as I walked out to the bus to make kind of a scarring story short, I had a lot of men pointing fingers, screaming, yelling at me because I had short sleeves on. And the entire time that we were to Israel, what really hit home to me was the difference of the countries surrounding Israel and the freedom that we had in Israel. A lot of people say that when they're in Israel, they don't even realize that they're not in a country that mirrors America, because it does mirror America. So that was something that stood out to me on that trip.
And what country were you in when that happened?
What, excuse me?
What country were you in when that happened?
That was Jordan.
That was Jordan. And we think of Jordan as one of our friends in the area.
Mm-hmm. And it is pretty good compared to a lot of the other countries, compared to Saudi Arabia and the like. But to me, that made Israel stand out even more, that when you're walking in Israel, if you're wearing short sleeves, you're not going to have men harass you. So the freedoms that are in Israel, that hit home with a lot of the students on my trip, or the participants, that there were people that weren't necessarily pro-Israel, and even they had to admit at that point on our trip in Jordan that there was something special about Israel in the Middle East.
And other lessons, and there is absolutely something special. And I don't know if you have the book Startup Nation and some of the other books that talk about all of the innovations, the creations.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Israel has been so blessed. When you think of Israel and America, per capita, what comes out of both of those countries, Nobel Peace Prize winners, like I said, the irrigation system, the medical breakthroughs that come through, it is, I believe, that Genesis instruction, blessing Israel.
Absolutely.
Other lessons you learned as you traveled this last journey. And for our listeners, you went through, give them kind of a little overview of the itinerary, and thank you for sending it to me so I could follow along. I actually did follow along. I can't say every day, but yes, I knew when you were heading to certain locations, and I would say a prayer for you, and I was just so happy you could be there.
Yeah. So first what we did was we went to Poland, and we went to Auschwitz and to the Schindler factory from Schindler's List. We went to Birkenau while we were there, too. And then we went to Jordan. We went to Petra. Right before we got to Jordan, we went down to Eilat, which is the very bottom of Israel. And we stayed in a kibbutz down there, which is a community of people that kind of live independently of the regular culture. And we stayed with them. Then we went through Petra, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world in Jordan. We went into Amman. While we were in Amman, and the purpose of us going to Jordan was that we met with ISIS refugees from Iraq. And that was probably the most influential part of my trip, because I have also been to Israel one more time. But we sat down on Sunday with these families, and we tried our best to sing worship songs in Arabic. And there was a little girl that I remember playing like the elementary hand clapping games with as she sang little songs in Arabic. And we had translators that told us stories of how these families have had ISIS come through their different cities before. But one man told us a story. He was a doctor. He told us that he fled his home quickly, and then when he realized that they weren't going to be able to come back, what they did was he grabbed his family, grabbed everything. They hopped in one car. They left all the other vehicles, and they hopped on the highway. And somewhere that would have taken them 1 hour to drive took them 6. So everybody was fleeing the region, fleeing the country, and he didn't know if he was going to be able to come back to his home or not. And then all of a sudden, they only literally had the clothes that were on the back of their backs. So meeting the ISIS refugees was something that took something in the news constantly right now. And it made it, again, really personal to kind of share their tears with them.
I don't know if Americans have thought that through. I have. I've walked through my house and thought, if you had to flee, what would you take?
Yeah.
What would you walk through your house? What's so important that you would take? It's something we just have.
The church bells, too, were what told them they needed to leave. It was someone ringing the church bells. That's usually something that is encouraging and, for the smile on your face. But to them, hearing their church bells go, it just really exemplifies to me the fact that religion is not as free in the Middle East as what we take for advantage in America.
Absolutely. Great point. As we come into our last minute of the show, a great reminder for us. What we have here in America is so precious. We cannot afford to let it go. And that First Amendment doesn't just protect anything that calls itself a religion, because we know ISIS, we know Islam is a militant behavior as well. Yes, there's a religious component, but it's a militant behavior. And if we continue to think that under the First Amendment, we have to allow mosques that are oftentimes storing places for ammunition and for their military plans where they meet. We are going to be in sorry situations here in America. And you're seeing it around the world. 30 seconds, Chelsea, to kind of give your last greeting to our folks.
Sure. Well, to bring the things back to CUFI, I know we did talk about some heavy stuff over the program this morning, but when you're sending your kids off to college, when you're picking the university, when you're doing all of these different things, do your research, obviously. But if your child is somewhere on a campus and they know that they need to speak up, which I think you should do anywhere, where if it's Liberty University where I went, where anti-Semitism was not prevalent, or if it is, what you need to do is you need to get involved in CUFI and you need to bring a chapter to your campus, and we'd love to help you do it.
Excellent. Chelsea Andrews has been my guest. CUFI.org. You can get more information. You've been given great information here. Be encouraged and never be complacent. You can make a difference, and it may be up to you to do it. Thanks for staying tuned with us.